All right, let's dive in. When you look at the grand story of creation in Genesis, it's like this incredible symphony, right? Each day builds on the last, and at the end of almost every single day, you get this beautiful, triumphant chord, and God saw that it was good. But there's one really strange exception. One day where that refrain just isn't there. Today, we are going deep, deep into the mystical blueprint of creation's second day to figure out why. This is the question. It's the whole mystery that has fascinated mystics for centuries. And let me tell you, this is no typo, no accident. It's a deliberate clue, pointing to a massive secret about how reality itself is built. And to crack it, we have to go back to what the universe looked like right before this day even began. So here's the verse itself. The key action word here is separation. God commands an expanse, in Hebrew a rakia, to literally come into being in the midst of the waters. Now, this isn't just about making the sky. On the mystical level, what we're witnessing is a moment of pure cosmic engineering. It's the introduction of a brand new principle that's going to change everything. Okay, so to get what was being divided, you first have to understand what was there to begin with. Before day 2, the universe was basically in a state of pure, blended, undifferentiated unity. We can call this the era of the primal waters, a state of being completely governed by one single divine force. The key concept here is mayim. You know, in Kabbalah, when they say water, they're not talking about H2O. It's code. It's code for this incredible flow of divine energy and potential. I want you to imagine a universe that is just a single, infinite ocean of light. No up, no down, no here, no there, just a limitless, unified flow of pure being. And this state, this unified ocean of mayim, is the ultimate expression of the divine attribute of Chesed. Think of Chesed as pure, unfiltered giving. It's the right side of the divine structure, a force of just boundless expansion that wants to give and give and give, with no limits, no container, no boundaries. This was the state of the world after day 1, just pure, limitless goodness. But here's the problem. A world made only of Chesed can't actually exist because it has no form, no definition, no structure at all. And that brings us to the critical, game-changing action of day 2. For creation to actually become a thing with, distinct objects and beings, a counterforce had to be introduced, a force that could give shape to that formless ocean of Chesed. And that force is called Gevurah. Now, Gevurah is often translated as severity or judgment, which sounds kind of harsh, right? But a much better way to think about it is as the principle of limitation, of distinction. It's the cosmic force that says, okay, stop. It's what creates boundaries, it's what defines forms, it's what sets up the rules of the game. This is the left side of the divine structure, the absolute necessary opposite to the expansive right side of Chesed. And you can see the dynamic right here. Chesed is all about unity, Gevurah is about division. Chesed expands, Gevurah contracts. One is giving, the other is withholding. One is mercy, the other judgment. The mystics tell us that in the beginning, these two forces were basically at war. The right side wanted to just flood everything with light, and the left side wanted to lock everything down in a rigid form. For a stable world to exist, they had to be brought into balance. So the specific tool that gets used on day 2 to bring in this power of Gevurah is the Rakia, the expanse. And again, this is not just the sky, it's a spiritual partition. You can think of it like a metaphysical blade that just slices right through that unified ocean of Chesed to create the very first, most fundamental distinction in all of creation. Seriously, just try to picture this for a second. An infinite, singular reality of divine light. No difference between upper and lower waters, it's all one. And then, bam! This luminous crystalline barrier stretches across infinity, pushing them apart. All of a sudden you have upper waters, which represents pure spiritual potential, and lower waters, which represents the potential for our physical world. And the tension between them is literally crackling across this brand new cosmic divide. That is the act of day 2. But here is the secret. This is the part that blows my mind. This act of division, this injection of Gevurah, it wasn't an act of destruction. It was the birth of creative tension. It was the introduction of a necessary conflict that makes our complex reality even possible. And this isn't just any old fight, it's a sacred one. The Hebrew word for this is machloket, and the sages teach that there are basically 2 kinds of machloket, 2 kinds of conflict. There's the destructive kind, the kind that tears things down. And then there's a machloket l'shem shamayim, a dispute for the sake of heaven. This is a conflict whose whole purpose is to get to the truth and ultimately build something stronger, something better. The division of the waters on day 2, that is the ultimate archetypical dispute for the sake of heaven. It's the tension between spirit and matter, between idea and form, between giving and holding back. For those of us who think in digital terms, there's a really powerful way to get this. The Rakia is basically a cosmic firewall, or think of it like partitioning a hard drive. Before, you just had one massive, messy pool of data. That was the unified Ma'im. The Rakia comes in and partitions it into 2 layers. You've got the upper waters, which is like your high-level abstract code, the pure spiritual potential. And then you have the lower waters, which is the execution layer, where all that potential can actually be turned into something real. You need that separation to run a complex system. Or, hey, if you're a gamer, think of it like this. Imagine a game world that starts as one big magical realm. On day 2, the cosmic game designer splits it into 2 planes. A celestial heavenly realm of pure magic, that's the upper waters, and a grounded physical world of earth and rock and struggle, that's the lower waters. The whole plot of the game, every single quest, every challenge, is now driven by the relationship and the tension between these 2 separate realms. That's the creative power of division. And this isn't just some cold mechanical process. The mystical texts, especially the Zohar, they describe this moment with so much emotion, so much feeling. The lower waters, now that they're separated from their source, are said to be weeping. They're crying out, "We also want to be before the king." And this weeping, it represents this deep spiritual longing, the yearning of our physical world to reconnect with its spiritual source. This creative tension, this longing, is the engine that drives all of spiritual life. Okay, so now we have all the pieces on the board. We've got the unified waters of Chesed, we have the dividing force of Gevurah, creating the Rakia, and we have this resulting creative conflict, the machloket. Now, we can finally answer the question. So let's ask it again. If this division is so fundamental, so absolutely necessary for everything that comes after, why doesn't God look at this act of separation and say, "Yep, that's good"? Why the silence? And here it is. The core answer from the mystics is because the work of that day was fundamentally incomplete. In the Aramaic of the Zoar, the phrase is lo ishtalem uvda. The deed was not finished. Day 2 introduced division, which was the essential antithesis to day 1's unity. But division all by itself is unstable. It creates a conflict between the right and left sides of reality that hasn't been resolved yet. And there's another layer. This raw, unmediated division also unleashed a Drakkar potential. This unresolved conflict, this raw power of Gevurah and Chesed clashing, it actually created the spiritual root of all negative conflict. The sages actually say that on the second day, Gehenna, the whole concept of a spiritual place of strife, was created. It's not a punishment, it's just the natural potential that pops up whenever you have division without a harmonizing force to bring it together. And this right here, this brings us to the grand structure of creation. It's a cosmic dialectic. It's beautiful. Day 1 is the thesis, pure blended unity, the power of Chesed. Day 2 is the antithesis, the necessary introduction of division, the power of Gevurah. The work can't be called good yet because the process is only halfway done. The story isn't over until the synthesis arrives on day 3, when a third mediating force, the middle pillar called Tiferet, or beauty, shows up to reconcile the conflict between right and left, creating a stable, beautiful, harmonious world. So what's the big takeaway from all of this? What does this ancient cosmic drama about the silent second day mean for you and me, living down here in the world of the lower waters? I think the point is this. Day 2 teaches us a really profound truth about life. We tend to think unity is good and division is bad, but the story of creation shows us that without the division of day 2, without boundaries, without structure, and yes, even without the tension of conflict, nothing meaningful can actually be built. It is the necessary step between simple, formless potential and a complex, beautiful, functioning reality. Our challenge isn't to get rid of division, but to learn how to bring it into harmony. Thank you for joining us for this complete journey through the Pardes. We hope these ancient truths help you and your family improve your own dimensions this week. If you enjoyed this full chapter deep dive, please like, subscribe, and share which part of the journey touched your soul in the comments. We'll see you in the next chapter.